Hi guys, and welcome back to this episode of the CEO Journey. Today we're joined by a really special guest called Ted. I've known Ted for a few years now. So Ted runs a page on Instagram called If Only They Knew. We've messaged a few times, so it's been great to kind of know Ted in that way, and also his page been really helpful in my entrepreneurial journey and just kind of sparking that interest. Ted's also had a really kind of successful business. I think he set it up 6 months ago or something, but we'll talk to him more about that obviously later on in the podcast. So without further ado, Ted, welcome to the CEO Journey. I hope you're doing well. And just to start off, could you just share a little bit just about your kind of upbringing, and then also about kind of where your entrepreneurial kind of interests just started?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. Like you said, we've had some connection in for quite a while now, so it's good to obviously meet you both. And yeah, looking forward to this. So yeah, in a nutshell, I'm Ted Lawlor. I'm 24. I'm known as the UK's advocate for young business minds because, as you rightfully mentioned, I've got If Only They Knew, which is the hub for young business minds. And yeah, basically, I've been creating content for young entrepreneurs for literally this month it would be 5 years, so half a
Wow,
decade I've been creating content.
wow.
And then, yeah, like you said, I've got the manifestation journal as well, which started last year. I actually had to double check just before I jumped on this call, but it's last year I brought this out. So yeah, it's been a while. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And it all started really from a depression. I got really depressed, which I'm sure we'll dive into. I got really ill from that depression, and I thought, right, I hit rock bottom. What worse could happen? What more could happen to me that brings me even lower? Because I can't physically get any lower. So I'll start what I always wanted to do, and that was become an entrepreneur. And yeah, I started If Only They Knew in 2017, and then yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
No, lovely. Am I right in saying that you also grew up quite poor?
Yeah.
And at times, was hungry, didn't know whether you'd have a meal on the table.
Yeah.
Would you say that gave you a chip on the shoulder and really motivated you to achieve success?
Yeah, it definitely did. It's one of the first things that gave me, like, I guess you call it a chip on the shoulder. One of the first things that I thought, oh, you get that frustration, you're like,
Yeah.
something's not right here. It doesn't feel like this is how it should be. And most importantly, I was thinking, if this is how it is, I can't imagine this lasting my whole life. So something's got to change, whether it's good or bad, whether I like make a change and get rich, or I carry on down this path, I end up killing myself or going to prison, because all my friends at the time were going, well, not all my friends, but a lot of my friends were going to prison. A lot of the people above me were going to prison because of the area I grew up in. That was just like normal. So I was like, yeah, I was panicking about that. And that's essentially where all of this come from. And yeah, you're right. I had a chip on my shoulder, but I've got this theory I've sort of been thinking about recently. I feel like it's okay to have that chip on your shoulder for a certain amount of time, get you to sort of the starting blocks, if you want to put it that way. Like, imagine it like a balloon, for example.
Mhm.
I had that chip on my shoulder. I was poor, I was angry, I was frustrated. So I started pumping this balloon, and this balloon's called ego. I kept pumping this balloon. I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get back on them. I'm going to, like, you start filling it with whatever you need to fill it with just to get you started. And that balloon started spreading and spreading and spreading. I was like, right, this is it. I'm angry, and I was fueled by anger and just pain. And I was like, got to a certain point, and this was just after sort of my depression in 2017. Things started to click into place, and I was like, hold on a minute, if I keep using this chip on my shoulder to fuel this balloon and keep pushing this balloon and blowing it up, sooner or later it's going to pop. So I need to, like, almost stop myself before I get ahead of myself and end up popping this balloon and doing something stupid to myself, or causing arguments with friends and family, which was probably on the cards, because I was a little bit arrogant in that sense, and I let my ego get ahead of me. And that's when things started to change, when I sort of took a step back. So I used all that momentum to get to a certain point, and I was like, okay, let me step back, because my confidence is now going to look like arrogance if I carry on talking the way that I was talking and thinking before. So it got to a certain point, and I was like, all right, let me deflate this balloon a little bit, let me pop the ego down, and sort of, yeah, just sort of be a little bit more equal, I guess, on the playing field, and settle down a little bit. And that's when everything started to really shift and change for me. It's been like a year since everything's truly happened. So I've spent, like, what did I say, 4 years sort of like anger and like pain. And then it's only when I started deflating that balloon, it's been a year, and so much more has happened in that year than in the past 4 years before it.
And did you say that you had like would you say that you had a good sort of family environment around you? Were they supportive? And just what was home like?
Yeah, it was good. I live just with my mum. And we always had a dog of some sort. We were so unlucky with dogs. The dog's always like getting ill and like just a nightmare. So we went through so many different dogs. But yeah, essentially it was just me, my mum, and a dog of some form, whether it's a Jack Russell, a Shar-Pei, Dalmatian. We went through so many dogs. But yeah, in a nutshell, it was just us three, I guess, a really small, close-knit little family.
Yeah, that's interesting. Would you say that having grown up in that environment, if you were to look back now, would you change it? Because I guess it sort of fueled you in a way and driven you to achieve what you're achieving today. So like, I guess, would you change anything about your upbringing?
To be honest, I wouldn't. It's something I've thought about a lot. And I again, going back to that theme of like the chip on my shoulder, that's why I called my page If Only They Knew. Because I was like, if only they knew what I could do, if they only knew what I truly was capable of. Like, that's how that name started, from that anger and that pain. But in hindsight, no, I actually wouldn't change a thing. I'm a big believer in like what will be will be. So I feel like everything that happened to me, like even if the most terrible things has happened, I feel like it's all led me here today. And where I am today, I feel happy with. I've got a plan for where I'm going as well. So I feel like it's all worked out how it should have worked out.
And you went to university, didn't you? So you went to is it Anglo-Ruskin University?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Whereabouts is that?
So they've got two campuses. They've got a really lovely, like, state-of-the-art one in Chelmsford, I think it is, and then they've got one in Farringdon, which is like, it was horrible. It was like, the office in the Matrix, like it was like really dark grey and like cubicles. It was just it was mad. There was no party life. There was no staying on campus. I'd only go in 2 days a week, traveling by. I'd drive in an hour, then I'd get the bus for an hour and go there. So I'd turn up miserable, and yeah, it wasn't nice. But yes, I did go Anglo-Ruskin.
Yeah, was your depression?
Were you studying business there as well? Sorry, Tom.
Yeah. No, I studied in business and marketing, and yeah, it was around that time. I think I worked out the timelines, and it was just as I was going into uni is when my depression started to kick in, because I was panicking going into uni. Then like sort of got a year into uni, I was like, if this is what I'm being sort of given to prepare me for the outside world, the real world, then I'm in big trouble. And it sort of fueled my depression even more, because I was just panicking. But that, luckily, again, everything happens for a reason. That's why I started If Only They Knew, in order to sort of help bridge that gap between where I wanted to be and where I actually was.
What year did you start that business? Was that whilst you were at university, I'm guessing? So.
Yeah. So I started If Only They Knew in 2017, and I started uni in September 2016. So it was a good year afterwards. So it was going into my second year when I started If Only They Knew.
And did you, because you studied business and marketing at university, so I'm guessing, some people would assume that there would be a lot of transferable elements from that degree into the business. Studying that degree, did that help you and give you the skills necessary to be able to plunge into entrepreneurship? Or, would you say that, I guess, all the theory that you learn at university is just crap and it was?
It is.
From my point of view, it is.
I think that as well, to be honest. I'm with you on that. Some of it was good, but to be honest, I'm trying to think, like, I'm trying to sort of be balanced and be like, okay, what did I learn? I'm like, I don't know what I learned. I couldn't tell you one thing. The main thing for me was, it was so outdated. We was like learning from textbooks from like 4 or 5 years ago, and which would probably be fine if it was like law or, I don't know, something else. But when you're doing business marketing, and things change every year, let alone every 4 or 5 years, it was so outdated. I was like learning things like as if in the books they were talking about stuff as if there wasn't internet. Like, it was just so bizarre. Like, it just felt very outdated. So yeah, just to be honest, I didn't learn too much. But what I did learn was, if you want to get something, you need to go and get it yourself, because I was panicking, mate, and I was thinking, if I don't do something myself, then I'm in trouble. So yeah, that I learned valuable life skills rather than business skills there.
Yeah. Why media? Like, it's just something I've always wondered.
Yeah, so it was marketing. So I did business and marketing, like that was the term. So it was a bit of business, like law, finance, mixed in with marketing. And there is actually a reason for why I like marketing. It took me a while to figure it out. And the reason that I think I like marketing is just because I don't know why I like this, but I like the idea of sort of thinking of an idea that doesn't exist, finding a way to actually create that in the real world, packaging it up, and then seeing people's reactions to it. And I don't know why that seems to be like a theme across everything I sort of do in a way. Like the journal, it started off as a thought. I created it, packaged it up nicely, and put it out into the world. And it's like everything I've done is sort of that process. But I don't know why I like that, but there's something about it I like.
What was it like, starting a business at university? And I guess, what were the early years like running, if only they knew?
Yeah, so like I was saying, it was a weird one because I think it's a case of you never know what you have until it's gone. So I started, if only they knew, in the first or going into the second year of uni, just started sharing business news from around the world. I'd go into uni early with the City AM, it was called, the newspaper. I'd flick through it and I'd find all the interesting stories and share that onto my Instagram, and then got quite a few followers, and it just grew. And I was like, wow, it's growing really quickly. But I almost expected that in a weird way. So I didn't realize how good it actually was at the time until now. And I've had a few months gap, and then you're like, crap, I had the ball, and I'll be honest, I dropped the ball. I had so much momentum. I had people following me. I was reaching out to people from The Apprentice, which I didn't think they'd reply. And they replied like within 2 seconds. I'm like, whoa, what am I onto here? I started getting interviews with the people from The Apprentice. Then the podcast came, and then I just stopped. I don't even know why I stopped, but I stopped. And it's only now that I'm like, I let myself down, to be honest, because I had it all there. I had everything moving. I had the momentum, and it just ended. So yeah, it's quite a weird one, but again, I learned a lot from the process and from the failure as well.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, I guess. Like, your first venture, you never know what it's going to be like, do you? And whether it succeeds or not, it's all these skills that you actually learn that you can then take onto, your other ventures, which you're doing now. But what I'm quite interested in understanding is, was it just purely at the start a passion play, or did you like think, oh, I can make a business out? Like, were you going into it with the mindset of, I want to create a business, or was it just purely passion?
It was just purely passion, and it still is with If Only They Knew to this day, really. It's only recently I started sort of selling my clothing and my gym wear, selling these bad boys.
Lovely.
Yeah. I've got caps as well that I started. That was like last year, perhaps I started that. So you think I've been doing it since 2017, not really getting anything from it, just doing it, just purely passion. And almost in a weird way, aside from the passion, I was doing it quite selfishly to network with people that were like me, wanted to get into the business world, but were struggling for whatever reason. I wanted to connect with those guys, just like I would sort of want someone to reach out to me. So it's sort of a weird selfish thing that I've just ended up doing for half a decade.
No, like 100%, because that's quite interesting that you say about wanting to network and connect with people. And I know that's been vital for me and Joe when we've been building connections. We've started with 0 connections, and now by putting ourselves out there, you start to build a good sort of network around you that's always going to help you. So what would you say? Would you say networking and putting yourself out there and reaching out to like-minded people, especially in the entrepreneurship space, is so powerful in actually getting you to where you want to be?
Yeah, networking is definitely powerful. I've got this like 3-step process. You learn, load, and then level up. So like it's something that I sort of took on board and realized I was doing early on, and it really helps. So like learning is like the work experience, shadowing people, and sort of just dipping your toes into what you think you might like in terms of an industry or a job function. And then you load up by networking in that space. So say for me, I wanted to do podcasting. or business, for example, whatever it may be. You pick that area, then you say, right, I've learned that how that industry works. I'm now going to load up in that industry. So I'm going to network with specific people and key players in that industry, test the waters, start planning, start prepping for what it is you actually want to do. And then you level up. Once you've sort of got the network, you've got the people, you've got the idea, you know how the industry works as well, then you can sort of go into that leveling up stage where you actually start taking action and leveraging the network. So that's something that I've been doing recently. Spent a lot of time sort of connecting with people and staying silent. And now I'm like, oh, by the way, guys, can you do this for me? Would you be able to share this? Would you be able to promote my journal? So sort of that 3-step process. And I think Gary Vee has something similar. It's like jab, jab, right hook. I think it is jab, jab, left hook. It's that process, sort of give, and then ask for something in return once you've given so much value. And again, you can't really play that off if you don't have the network there.
I was just going to ask you kind of just about the manifestation journal. So obviously, kind of it's been really successful since it's set up. And if you could kind of just tell us a bit more about that, kind of where the idea came from. Obviously, you've also partnered with someone really big in that industry. So if you could just kind of talk us through a bit more about the manifestation journal.
Yeah, so the manifestation journal, again, in a nutshell, is a guided journal, as it says on the tin, and that helps the user manifest their true desires whilst also improving their mental health. And the reason for that is because I obviously had really bad mental health issues back in 2017, 2018. I had a really bad depression. I went to the doctors and I was like, mate, I don't know what's going on. There was all scabs and scars over my face. And I was like, I'm ill, but I don't know why. Then he said, it looks like you're overstressed and depressed. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't really think that could even be a thing. And then once I knew that, he gave me antibiotics to get rid of all the scabs because I looked like a complete psycho. Got rid of all the scabs and scars, then started, it was almost that calling point of, okay, I need to fix myself. So I started looking at the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, getting involved more in business and setting up If Only They Knew. Then I found the power of manifestation, started learning different techniques and how to implement manifestation into my life. And that's literally saved my life. I'll be honest, that saved me from sort of not being here. Otherwise I wouldn't be here today. It makes me feel, it gave me a shiver even saying that, but it's true. I just wouldn't be here if it wasn't for business and manifestation. So yeah, so I sort of saved myself using those techniques. Then a few years down the line, it was 2020, I met Robert Hisee. He's the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist, as he always says. And he's basically a therapist that works with loads of celebs. I met him for a session because even though I beat my depression, I still had anxiety left over from it, almost like the aftermath of it all. Like it was still there and it just niggling away at me. I felt weak. I felt horrible. I just didn't want to go out. So I went to him. He managed to fix that with just a few sessions. We got on really well, me and Rob, and we was like, we both have the same interest, but have a similar story. Weirdly enough, both from the same area. He grew up with my mum, weirdly enough, and my dad. And yeah, we was like, we got the same interests. Let's make a journal in order to sort of package manifestation and business and just life skills all into one place, and yeah, get it out into the world, which we did. And yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I'm so glad to see that it's doing successful, and you know, it's clearly going to be that way as well. But would you say that, so you've obviously found Robert as your business partner, having that camaraderie and being able to share the journey with someone else, how crucial has that been for you?
Well, that has been, it's almost one of them. Like I started If Only They Knew by myself in 2017, and up until now I still do that myself. So it's only in 2020 that I started working with someone else and having any input of business ideas from someone else. So having that person there has been like crucial for me. That like I sort of said earlier in the call, like that gap from 2017 to 2020, nothing really happened. Like there's a few good things, but nothing really happened for 5 years of 3, 4, 5 years of running business up until now. But working with somebody else, that gap from 2020 to now mate, it's been nuts. We launched the journal last year, and within a year I did more than I've done in my whole entire life. And it's just it is because I've had that other person that's on a similar wavelength to bounce off of.
Yeah. And are you all about enjoying the journey, enjoying the process of building this business? Because I guess you probably know the vision, and you know where you want to be long term with this. But would you say that, because I've spoken to a lot of other entrepreneurs, and they always preach about, you know, enjoying the process, and just enjoying all the little steps that you make towards that long-term goal. So is that something that you really sort of put in place and calculate?
100%. I've got this like weird thing. I enjoy the journey so much. You know, like 50 Cent says, "Get rich or die trying." Like that's almost like my mentality. Like I just love it so much. To be honest, as long as I'm sort of on this momentum, in a weird way, even though I fought so hard to beat my depression and get away from those thoughts, I almost don't care if I live or die. Almost like, you know, like when you're enjoying things so much, it's really weird. Like I don't actually care too much about getting to the end goal. It's more about enjoying the process, which I am. I used to wake up depressed, scars all over my face, didn't want to be it, standing on the edge of train tracks, just thinking I could just jump now. I just got nothing to live for tomorrow. I might as well just jump and just end it all now. To now waking up and just don't really care what happens, because I've been the lowest. I'm just loving life. Whatever happens, a celebrity post a journal or get a piece in the press, it's all just like a bonus almost. So I don't actually care where it leads to. Almost, I'm 24, I've got so many years left. Wherever it leads to, but I'd happily die tomorrow, next year, because I'm enjoying it so much. I don't really care. There's no real end goal. Almost, it's quite a weird one, but there's no end goal really for me. So it's sort of never ending. As long as I'm enjoying it, I'm happy. If it ends tomorrow, it ends. I don't really care. Just enjoy every day.
Yeah, no, 100%. And although you've beaten that depression pretty much, do you still have those bad days where you think, oh, you're like, your mind's just weighing on you, you're like, you know, contemplating stuff? Do you still get that? And if you do, what drives you from that? Because I'm guessing that's a really difficult situation to be in. And I've had it before where I've just woken up and thought, like, you know, I can't be asked with today. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to do shit all. But, you know, how do you cope with your mind weighing on you sometimes when you wake up in that state of mind?
I think it's I think part of what helps me is that, like I said, I was so low that everything's now a bonus. So when I do have those bad days, which does happen, not as often, but when I do sort of get pulled back into that weird way of thinking, like, oh, what am I here for? What am I doing? Like, it's not going to work. The thing that helps me bounce back is, like, one, sort of taking that pause and saying, hold on a minute, that's not how I normally think. What's going on? So I do that by doing breath work. I'm not sure if you guys have ever done that, but like a simple Wim Hof breath work. I think it's about 10 minutes, if that, sort of 30 big breaths in and out, in and out. You stop, hold your breath for like a minute or whatever it is, and then afterwards you're like, whoa, like you feel like you've just come back round. You're like, what's going on here? Like you feel so out of it, but that sort of puts that dent in that thought and stops that thought in its tracks. So once you do that, you're like, okay, whoa, what happened there? Let's put that behind me. Now I'm sort of level-headed again, and then you're able to sort of move forward. And the things I use to move forward are, like I said, enjoying the process. What can I do today? Everything that happens today is a bonus, so I don't really care about anything really, because it's all a bonus. I'm enjoying it so much. Let's focus on creating something today, or making something new happen today, and sort of pushing forward and just enjoying life, creating things and being in the moment, I guess. But the main thing is putting that stop into that bad thought as soon as it's there. Don't let it linger and say, I'll deal with you later, because it's just going to grow and grow. Before you know it, it's going to eat you up.
Is it almost like a nothing to lose mentality?
Exactly that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's like everything is a bonus now. I've been so low, it doesn't really matter what happens to me today. I could walk out, get hit by a car, I'd be on the floor probably laughing, thinking, oh my god, I can't believe this. Like nothing matters at all. Like my car is completely battered, I just don't care. Like, you know, you just, like, it feels so good to be so carefree because
Yes.
everything is a bonus. Just waking up in the morning, I'm like, yes, like another day, just to enjoy it, create stuff, and just make the most of it, really. But like you said, a carefree attitude is a bit weird, because you're almost like, if I'm not here tomorrow, I'm not here. Whatever. It's quite bizarre, but it's quite good fun when you've gone that low and you sort of bounce up. It's quite good fun in a weird way.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge so far in business?
My biggest challenge. What is my biggest challenge? I think my biggest challenge is, what would my biggest challenge be? You know, it's a hard one. I'm going through my head now. I'm like, what would it be? I think one of the things is that loneliness, and like you've probably seen, I'm a bit odd. I'm a bit just in my carefree thinking. I think like that loneliness, that like sort of not being part of the pack almost, and not being able to feel your true self around people. Like, I know it's not, you're probably expecting an answer about like finances or something like that, but for me it's that social element that being an entrepreneur brings, because you miss out on so much. Like, you have to sacrifice so much. Like, I don't really talk to anyone apart from Rob, my business partner, all day. I don't really go out much, like as much as I should do for a 24-year-old guy living in London. So I think the hardest part has been that sacrifice and missing out on opportunities, missing out on real relationships with people, whether that's like a girlfriend or just a friend. I've got no real sort of real group of friends that I can sort of count on. It's quite weird, quite lonely in that sense. So I think that's been the biggest challenge that being in the business world has brought about.
So is it like FOMO of like
yeah it is FOMO, but it's not at the same time. Like it was, but I think I've got so used to it now, and I'm almost like thinking, well, if I do go out every Saturday and join my friends, then I wouldn't get this done. I wouldn't get this podcast done. I wouldn't have this meeting booked in. I wouldn't have this investor lined up. Like, there's so many different things. I feel like it was FOMO because originally, and I think this is good for any young entrepreneur to hear, when you get started, you will feel really odd and you feel like you're going to stand out and miss out on opportunities. But when you realize what missing out on those social opportunities brings, it's almost like a brilliant opportunity cost, because you miss out on going out on a few nights out, whatever, but then look at what you could be creating in replacement of that. You could have so much more. Instead of going out, you could go out and book some meetings or do something really quite nerdy almost to most people, but you could really make a big difference to your business and therefore your whole life if you just miss out on a few nights out and Weatherspoons. Like, weighing it up.
It's true, but like I completely get that, and like you always have to remind yourself of the long-term vision and what you're actually doing. But like it's weird when you're actually, you know, put in that situation. Like, you're always like, oh, like, I kind of wish I was, you know, having some pints with my mates. So it's quite weird to remind yourself. But although If Only They Knew was a passion thing, I think you clearly understood the benefits of what you were doing, and you had the vision of, you know, creating the network to then use that to level up into other ventures. Did you have like any support with that from friends at the time, or was that just completely lonely?
I think this ties into like what I said previously. It sort of shows what type of person I am, I guess. Like, I'm sort of quite a lone wolf in that sense, because with If Only They Knew, I had no input from anyone. Not one person said even the smallest thing. Like, no one said, oh, maybe if you change that color to this, or maybe if you post this next. Like, there was literally no input whatsoever. I did the logo myself. I did everything you see on that page was what I created, which it in one way maybe why it took so long to get to a good position, because I was doing it all myself, like stupidly almost. I guess I could have sped it up a lot more if I brought someone in, but I didn't know the power of that that connection between bringing in another like-minded person. I didn't understand that power back then. So no, it's all completely me, to be honest. And in a weird way, I sort of, the reason after like a year of doing it that way, I kept it that way because I wanted to almost prove a point to myself and say, like, this is my project. This is what it started off as, my passion. It's going to stay as my passion until the very end. That may change and I might bring someone in to help me, but I quite like the idea of having it as my little hobby almost.
So are you actually actively trying to grow that now? Or,
Yeah, like I said, I had a few months off with If Only They Knew,
Yeah.
pretty much like a year off, I think, in all honesty, because of the journal. It was one of them, like, I could continue building this thing that isn't bringing in much, but may bring in a lot in the future, or I can just jump straight to the journal, which was bringing in like the money, the connections, the network, like that was bringing in a lot more and a lot more quickly as well. So I sort of jumped to that, and now I'm sort of back, like, okay, I've sort of spinning both plates now, I guess.
Do you find it hard to juggle the two different hustles then?
Yeah, I do actually. It's a lot. It's hard, like, one, mentally trying to like say, okay, this is the If Only They Knew brain. This is like the solo entrepreneur brain thinking, and then switching over to the journal where I'm working with someone else who has like plenty of ideas and opinions on things. And you sort of have to be like, hold on a minute. Oh no, wait, yeah, I forgot it's like a 50-50 venture. And then it's like hard trying to get those things in balance, I guess. But yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Well, it seems like you're very busy with it.
Yeah.
What's quite interesting is, do you actually switch off? Like, do you ever just like, does your mind ever just, relax and go to, do you have any other hobbies, or do you find it really difficult to sort of like stray away from business?
I do find it difficult. If I'm out with one of my very few friends that I have out at a restaurant, say, I'll be sitting there and I'll be thinking, she'll be talking to me, and I'll be thinking, when I get home, I'm gonna reach out to this like supplier for the journey, and I'm gonna interview this person. I'm gonna reach out, like, my brain just doesn't switch off at all times. Like, I have to force it to switch off. So sometimes, like after a long day, I'll force myself to have like 30 minutes of playing FIFA, for example, and just smash out FIFA and just be like completely brain dead, listen to like a boxing podcast or a boxing interview, and just like have that half hour to like mong out almost, and be like, right, this is what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about business. Don't think about business. And then like, I have to force myself not to think about business and then go back to it. And then, yeah, it's sort of, but I have to like forcefully put in those points to stop myself from thinking about it.
Into it now. So Ted, what is a long-term vision for the manifestation journal?
Yeah, I think for me, the vision for, say, like If Only They Knew, I don't really have one. I'm sort of enjoying it, letting it sort of do its thing, and
that's more of a hobby thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the fun is almost seeing which way it could go. Any other month, something could change. A new person pops up on the podcast, and podcast goes into the charts, and then like you've got to deal with that, or it could be the clothing. There's like so many elements to that. I'm just sort of like, whatever happens. But with the manifestation journal, we've got huge plans for that, Rob and I. We've got so much going on. It's annoying we can't say. We've got so much going on though, in terms of bringing people on board to help us out in loads of different ways, whether that's a celebrity endorsement or people helping us on like a business strategic level, marketing level. It's just the team's growing, not just yet, but this time next year it'll be a completely different sort of beast, I guess. Right. And then we've also got should I say, we've got an app coming out as well. I can't say what the app is, but we've got some form of digital app that you guys will see very soon. We're working on now, which again, that's been a hard struggle. We've been working on it for months, trying to perfect it, getting it right, putting all our money into that, and hoping that sort of that comes together as well as we hoped. So we've got the app, we've got people joining us. We want to keep pushing forward with the journal. Obviously, Christmas is coming up, so it's going to be hectic for us again. Yeah, we've got a few other bits as well. I just almost went to say, but I can't say. Yeah, we've got so much going on. It's just we're at that stage now where we're so close to having it done. We can't say until it's actually here. But this time next year, even in a couple months' time, it's going to be completely different.
It sounds like there's exciting plans, Ted.
Yeah, that's it. You can see from my smile, I'm like, I really want to say,
so excited.
It's the people we've got involved in as well. I've worked with Rob. Rob's utilized his network. I've utilized my network, and that network just happens to have like so many celebrities and high level influencers.
Yes.
So having them involved in any aspect of the business, almost slipped up again and said it, but having them involved is like powerful for us. It's exciting. It's everything I sort of almost hoped If Only They Knew would be back in the day. It's sort of everything I wish for all at once. And like I said, it's only been a year since we've released the journal, so it's just crazy. So yeah,
I guess that's due to, you know, that obviously we talked about networking before, and you've worked hard at building a really strong network. So I guess that's compliment to that, isn't it? And that's the reason why, you know, you've been able to have these big growth plans, and it seems like it's, you know, onto a really successful thing. But I'm quite interested. Sorry, Ted. Were you going to say?
No, I was going to say it is as well. It's not only leveraging the celebrities, it's also like leveraging the press as well, which I think is quite a big point that many young entrepreneurs don't take advantage of. I don't know whether they think that it's not doable for them. But like if you just like Google Ted Lawlor, you'll see like the Sun, the Mirror, the
100%,
whatever
it's amazing that,
yeah. So it's like, but I was one of those guys. I was like, oh, that's not possible. Why would they be interested in me? But like leveraging whatever story you've got in some form really works well. So I think anyone out there, make the most of press. You've got a story, even if you've got to exaggerate it a little bit, fluff it up, whatever it may be, you've got something that would interest someone out there. It's just about finding them. So what I'd say is just very quickly, go onto LinkedIn, connect with some journalists, email your pitch after a few weeks of liking their posts and, you know, like buttering them up, email their pitch, keep it concise, keep it no waffle, plenty of value, write the story up yourself, whatever you want it to be, actually write it up, have all the high quality photos, put it all into a package, send it to some press, and I guarantee you get one story at least. You'll get something, whether it's your local press or the Sun, you'll get something, I promise.
We'll have to do that, definitely.
What's the pitch with it?
So for me, I started off by hitting up the local press, saying I'm a young local entrepreneur, 24. Again, play on what you've got. I'm 24. People love that young entrepreneur sort of play, that angle. So play on that. I've started a business. It's doing relatively well. I'm connecting with other local celebrities in the area. And so that means that the press can put local lad, then they can put works with XYZ celebrity, local celebrity, and then does this X amount of pounds in a month, say, for example. And you just use those little elements and sort of really fluff it up. And I guarantee you'll get something, whether it's the South London Press, the Manchester Gazette, whatever it's going to be, you're going to get something in your local paper at least.
Yeah. And how does leveraging the press actually impact things? Because is it more from a personal branding perspective?
It is mainly, yeah. But some outlets like really do well for your numbers as well. So for me, I was like just loving, I wanted the blue tick, you know, everyone wants a blue tick, and we're working towards. So I was like, that's it. I was like, let's just get loads of press. Let's just like, I wanted to, like, when you Google my name and you click news, it comes up. I was like, just loving like all the ego stuff. I was like, this is sick. And then we got into a certain outlet, they posted our story, and I was literally sitting at home all day, and it was going, I'm on Wix, like the website Wix,
right?
Journal, and the Wix app were just going cha-ching, 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 literally, I swear to God, all day long. And I was like in tears. I was phoning Rob and like, we need to get more press because this is just unreal.
We've made it.
Yeah, literally, like it was just from one, and then you get some pieces of press. Nothing happens. It's just sort of nice for yourself, and then some press, you're up all night watching your sales go up. So it's just mental. It honestly is, but it's worth it.
And is that people buying the journal then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people literally all day. Yeah, directly from that news outlet, straight to the website, straight to the basket, and straight out, boom, done. It's like wow.
What if someone's thinking, I don't have a story to tell? Like, because I think some people will look at your story and think, you know, it's quite a roller coaster story, and they haven't dealt with the things you've dealt with. How do they go about leveraging the press?
I think there's different elements, really. I feel like everyone's got a story of some sort. Like I said, it may be you have to use you can't sort of get anything for free, I guess. So you have to do some sort of work to get there. But once you're at a certain point, you can leverage something, fluff something up. So for example, if you did what we said earlier about leveraging your network or building your network, you build that network up. Say, for example, I know someone from The Apprentice, say, really easy to get hold of this person from The Apprentice. You could send them your product or whatever it may be, get them to endorse something or do a review, whatever it may be. You can do something with that person which a news outlet would be interested in. So even if it's not the local press, maybe it's the e-business magazine, and they write all about The Apprentice. So you just sort of leverage that person, that topic for that media outlet, if that makes sense. So you just sort of, you make things work, you couple things up that make sense, and you're relevant and sort of relevant to that media platform with the story. So whatever it may be, couple it up, and it will work.
Is it all just positive sides of leveraging the press and getting yourself out there, or are there any negative impacts that have occurred from that?
Not so much negative in terms of affecting the business, but one thing I've learned from seeing my name in the press, specifically the Sun.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you'd be able to bring it up, but I'll send it to you guys afterwards. When I was in the Sun on Facebook, they posted my article onto their Facebook page, and all the people commented. 3/4 of the people, I'd say, negative stuff. Really? That Audi TT is worth this much. He clearly isn't earning this much money because that Audi TT is worth this much, and said the wrong amount. It's like, it wasn't worth that. It was worth half of what you actually said. So in it, like, you're bigging me up without even realizing, because the car was a few grand. Like, I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, nothing makes sense. But there's so many haters out there, and they were just slating me in the comments. And then I went to the Sun, I think it's called the Sun Money page on Facebook. They reposted the same article. And because these people are interested in the money page, they're focusing on the positive things rather than the stories the Sun normally put out. All those comments on that post were positive. Well done, Ted. I don't know who these people are. Well done. Amazing. Such a great achievement for a young person. It's like, wow. Like, you see the difference between the people, but I guess that's sort of what comes when you get your name out there. There'll be people in their mum's basement ready to sort of slate you at some point.
So would you say to, like, Joe and I, because obviously our business is way behind yours in the sense that we haven't actually got we're building a prototype currently, so we haven't actually got anything tangible to show, and we're working with designers. Would you advise us to reach out to the press in the position that we're in currently, or would you say, once you've got something tangible and something to show for, then that's when you should reach out to them?
I think there's no harm in trialing the press now, obviously, as long as you've got, like, all the legal side of, like, being protected on that sense, like you've got, like, trademark and whatever, like, you know what I mean, you've got everything covered in that sense, then nothing can really go wrong. But when you reach out to these people, they don't say, the journalists, they don't say no, they just blank you. So, like, you could hit them up today and they'll just ignore you, hit them up again tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after, for like 3 months, and then on that 3rd month they'll say, oh, sounds really good, now's the right time, because it's all about the timing with them and the different themes of the month. So they'll say, oh yeah, this month is the whatever the product's theme is, this month is that theme, and then you get straight in. So don't be afraid to sort of pester these people, and I guess anyone really. Like, if they're not interested, they'll either say no or ignore you. Then when they're interested, you get exactly what you want. So it's like, you just have to get past that fear, and it's something I did, get past that fear of being a pest, because at the end of the day, no one really cares. Probably no one will even remember that you even pestered them to begin with. So it's sort of, it's a win.
Are you a big advocate of stepping out your comfort zone?
Yeah, 100%. The amount of things that I've done, I'm so glad I did that after, like, panicking about it the whole time. Like, even small things like calling people that are friends of friends to come onto my podcast. Like, a few, was it last year, I think it was, I called someone to be on my podcast. I was like, hello, I'm a friend of this person, so they said you might want to come on the podcast, and they're like, yeah mate, that's fine, send me the calendar link. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, it felt like such a big thing to do. Like, even small things like that.
That's how Joe and I feel now.
Yeah, that's it. Trust me, once you actually do it, you'll be like, oh my God, like, no one actually cares really. It's just like, yeah, whatever. So, like, once you do it a couple of times, you just get used to it. So I think that's with anything. Yeah, just do it, and what's the worst that can happen?
No, 100%. Yeah, and you've got to take all the opportunities out there, and
exactly.
I'm a big advocate myself in taking action, and, like, even if you don't understand something, that I wouldn't say I'm a, like, born entrepreneur, but I'm giving it a go, and I'm learning so much on the way, and I wouldn't regret anything about what I've done, or whether it's successful or not. It's just taking that action and grabbing all the opportunities.
Well, that is another point. Sorry to interrupt. That's another point. Like, I am not a born entrepreneur. I don't even like calling myself an entrepreneur. It's only because it's a nice, easy label to sort of understand and
It's a
sort of put
nice
in that
label, yeah.
box. Yeah, yeah. But like, I'm no good, mate. I'm rubbish. I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at detail. The amount of detail I miss out on is just like unbelievable. If you sent me a presentation, there'll be things like in the wrong place. I'll like just miss it completely. But what I am good at is like the creative side of things and the connecting with people, networking, and like making the most of real life, tangible like people, I guess, and relationships. Like they're the things I'm good at. So it's about understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at, and sort of trying to avoid the bad things as much as possible and make the most of the things you are good at, really.
So would you say you're very self-aware then in that?
Yeah, I think it's something I put a lot of time into. I haven't been diagnosed, but I know for a fact that I've got ADHD. And again, that was something I wasn't self-aware before. I was like, I feel dumb. I'm so stupid. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm missing out on the details. I'm like missing deadlines. I'm so disorganized. Like I couldn't remember people's names after they just told me. I was like, I'm stupid. That's what I thought. So I had to become self-aware and do some research and figure out why I am the way I am, really. And it's once you start sort of looking for those answers, it all makes so much more sense. And once it makes sense, then you're then able to sort of put procedures in place to sort of cater for the way you are. So for me, for example, I'm disorganized. So if you said to me, Ted, can you do this for me, please, mate? I'd have to write it down straight away. Otherwise I forget. But again, I wouldn't know that if I wasn't sort of taking the steps to figure out who I truly am, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at.
Yeah. And on the self-aware point, obviously a business partner, do you both understand, what you're good at this, so I'll let you do this, and then he might be better at something else, and you're like, all right, you crack on with that. Would you say you have that relationship with him, and how important is it to have that relationship with your co-founder?
Oh, mate, it's so important to have that relationship with your co-founder where you both understand how you like to be communicated with, how you like to be treated, and how you like to actually sort of take action. Some people prefer to not speak on the phone at all and work during the night by themselves, get on with the work, and then present it to you in the morning. Whereas some people, the opposite, they want to be sitting next to you whilst they're working, just for that sort of that connection, I guess. But there's a thing that Robert taught me, obviously my co-founder. He taught me about the Myers-Briggs personality indicator. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Oh, you have, yeah. So it's sort of again, that's sort of when I started picking up on. I probably have ADHD because it's like a common sort of symptom based on the code you get. Like you put in your assets and you put in your personality type sort of traits and stuff, and then you get given a code which means you're a certain group of person. So I'm an INFJ. So basically, without going into it, like I'm an introvert. I like a bit of planning, but not too much. And I'm big pictured, so I miss out on details. So like all these different codes mean certain things in the way that you interact with people and the way people should interact with you. So I feel like if everyone knew about the Myers-Briggs thing, whether you're in a workplace or you're in a business environment where you're working with your co-founders, if people knew that, then it'd make it a lot easier to get on with people. And one thing I'd say is people, especially in the business world, when they're getting told off or when they're getting criticized for something, the person that's criticizing you isn't actually criticizing you. They're criticizing your position or your role or the work you've produced. Like there's so many different layers. They're not actually targeting you as an individual. They're targeting you as the CEO or you as the marketing executive or whatever it may be. Like, so just sort of understanding those layers and understanding that everyone's different and likes to be communicated with differently, interact with differently. And just because they're not the same as you doesn't mean they're a twat.
100%. Because that's weird, because you definitely don't come across as being introverted.
Yeah, this is one thing that I've had a lot, and it's one thing that I had to research. I was like, I don't think this personality type was right. I sort of did understand I was introverted, but like I was confident at the same time. So it's like I don't get it, but like introvert and extrovert is just where you get your energy from. So I'm introverted. So after this call, I'll be shattered. I'll be like, oh, I'm done. No more talking to me. Don't talk to me. I don't want any interactions at all. Whereas an extrovert would love this, and they'll be like, right, after this call, I've got to call someone and I've got to speak to someone for like another hour. And they want to keep that energy going because that's where they draw energy from.
Right.
But for me, I'll be knackered. I'll be like, I'm done. So it's not so much about the confidence. It's more about the energy drain and gain.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's interesting, because I wouldn't ever have thought about it in that perspective before. And I guess it makes me question whether I'm actually introverted, because I have similar things to you where I'm just like, I want to shut off, essentially. Like, if I'm doing something, I'm speaking a lot, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is then go and speak to another person.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, no, I completely understand that. What would you tell your younger self? Is there anything that you would change?
I think one thing that I would tell myself, again, like I said earlier, I don't really like the idea of changing much in terms of, I wish this didn't happen to me, or I wish this, I wish that. But one of the things I would tell my younger self is just get started earlier.
Yeah.
And again, don't be afraid to be a pest. Get in people's faces, get the opportunities you need whilst you've got the time. Because like I said, with If Only They Knew, I had that platform building, had the momentum, and then I let it slide because I started having that self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and a load of other factors that just stopped me. So one thing I'd say to my younger self is just don't be afraid, man. Just get out there, do everything whilst you can. Nothing bad is going to happen. And yeah, just really, I would have wanted to speed up the process a little bit, but apart from that, I'm sort of happy with how it's panned out.
Yeah, no, and yeah, we wish you all the best success for the future with it all. Just to finish on, we love advice. You know, what would you say is your number one piece of advice that you would tell any aspiring entrepreneur out there?
I think it's having that self-awareness. Like we've there's like been a theme here, like having that self-awareness within yourself, understanding who you are, understanding how other people can be, understanding how to interact with those people. Like, for example, people don't keep you around for nothing. I've worked with Rob. We started getting close on a personal level, aside from the therapy, because I was helping him out with a few bits with his business before we got in business together. So it's like having that connection and knowing that people, you need to give people something in order to sort of have them keep you around. Like, people, you're not going to be kept around if you're completely useless or if you're a drain. So be a gain, not a drain. And yeah, that's it really. Just understand the social side of business. I think that's one of the things I'm most interested in, and most sort of proactive in finding out more about. So understand the social side, and I think you'll be all right with everything else.
No, lovely. Well, I think that's a great place to end the podcast on. And Ted, like, really appreciate you hopping on. It's been great to learn about your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
You know, it's safe to say that you've definitely been through a roller coaster with it, and you're on the up now, and that's the trajectory that you're going to continue to go on. So yeah, best of luck with all your ventures and all that sort of stuff. We really hope it goes well. So yeah, is there anything you'd like to add or, you know, plug in the description that we can, you know, put on the YouTube and stuff?
Yeah, if you don't mind, if whoever's listening to this, just follow me on Instagram at Ted Lawlor. Again, not really because I want to sell you something or push something on you. I just want to understand more about the people in my space, connect with people, and yeah, just sort of be a real life sort of person, I guess, in this crazy world.
Yeah, no, that's great. And can people reach out to you and you know, connect with you and you know, talk to you about business and stuff?
Yeah, talk to me about business, mental health. The amount of people, especially recently, the amount of entrepreneurs that are popping up to me talking about their mental health. Had one person the other day was like literally crying on the phone, talking about the struggles they're having. So I'm an open book. Feel free to reach out, tell me whatever you need to tell me, and yeah, ask me whatever you need to ask me. Let's just create, I think, in the business world, especially young entrepreneur world, let's just create a nice, healthy space for us all to interact, learn off each other, earn off each other. Exactly, that community where everything just sort of feels natural and sort of welcoming. I think that's the one thing we can do together.
No, lovely stuff.
Thanks so much, Ted.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ted. We hope you've, you know, enjoyed it, and we wish you the best of luck.
Definitely. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.